Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I knew that this day was coming and I am quite daunted. I'm also not centered. Okay, the middle of a frame. It's fine, it's fine. Am I using this to catch my breath and possibly avoid getting into what we're talking about today? Maybe. I'm quite daunted by this video, for which you have probably all clicked on because you are very excited. And you already know how long this video is going to be. Okay, this video is every Penguin published book that I own. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start off with the Penguin classics. The black books with the white spine around them, the white band around them. I own a lot of Penguin books. I've just spent some some effort gathering some of my books, so I feel a little out of breath because I was like moving and grooving. I just own a lot of Penguin books. A lot of them are unread, a lot of them are read. I just have a lot. And instead of doing like Penguin classics and then random Penguins, and I'm just gonna try and find all of the Penguin published books that I own, but we will be starting with the Penguin classics that look most like this, okay? This is The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling, and it has the white band around the whole thing. If you are new to my channel, then hello, welcome. If you are not new and you're watching this video, not new, if you're just watching this video, I would suggest that you grab a snack and you cozy in, you settle in for a really long video, because I want this to be chill, I want it to be relaxed, and I don't want to feel rushed as I'm going through all of my Penguin books, my Penguin published books. And if you're new, then hi, I'm Shelly. I really love books. I love collecting books. I have lots of little book collections, and my Penguin collection is one of the larger, if not my largest collection of books. And we're gonna go through that today. If you're liking the vibe, if you like what this is all about, an out of breath woman talking about books, then I would encourage you to subscribe, stick around, and without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. The order of events. Penguin books. I'm gonna talk about why I like them, why I enjoy Penguin published books. Then I'm going to be going through all of my, as many as I can possibly find, the Penguin classics that have this black spine, orange writing with the white band around it. Then I will go through the ones that have like the older Penguin classics that have the color at the very top of the spine that indicates what genre they're in. I'll show you those, or I'll insert some footage of me showing that. And then I will go through all of my random Penguin books, and this will just be a Penguin heavy video. That's just what we're gonna do. But I wanted some order of events in case you were just like, I just want to see a certain part of your collection, the Penguin classics with the white spine, or the random Penguins that you own. And I will do my darndest to get all of the Penguin books in here. Every Penguin published book that I own in this video. So, quite the task. But that's the order of events. So why I like Penguin books, I'm gonna start, this is one stack and it goes all the way down. I mean, it's sitting on a chair, so it's not like down to the ground, and here it is. But it is, I got, there's like 20 books here. They're here, there, and everywhere. Wow. Okay, we're just gonna get started. So the reason why I like Penguin books is that I tend to like what they publish. They publish classics. You can get basically you can get quite a few, a good portion of classic literature, and I mean older literature that has withstood the test of time, that is worth reading today. The worthiness is, a little bit based on who you are and how you value and want to spend your time. But there is just a huge range of books out there that Penguin has published. I also really love the size. I like that they're paperbacks. I like the way that it feels in my hands, like the ergonomic quality of the books. I think they're really comfortable. I think that they're incredibly readable. I like the font. I like the way the pages are set up. And I just love the actual, like, tangible quality of these books. The floppiness, the malleability, the ease of use, and I really actually like the way that they look when they are worn in after they've been read, and they're a little, I don't like broken spines on books, but I don't mind if there's some wear on the sides. I don't mind if it looks like it has been read. I think it just adds to the classiness of the book. And there are also incredible essays, introductions, explanations. There's often timelines and notes. They're just rich, full of additional information about the book that is contained within its pages. So this Rudyard Kipling book, it'll have an appendix and notes and a beautiful introduction essay and further reading, and it gives you a deep dive into this book and the context and Rudyard Kipling, and it just seems so thought through, and every book has that, an introduction and notes and further reading and so on. And I have a visitor. I really enjoy that. I like the consistency of Penguin published books. I love the consistency. I like that there will always be a long, typically thought through and well-written introduction. I love that there is always a further reading section, a notes section, and I just feel like I know what I'm getting every time I buy a Penguin classic, and that feels really, really, really good. And then finally, one of the things that I love about it is totally personal, but it's a nostalgic thing. I read Penguin classics in college. I annotated them, brought them to class. They were my buddies. They were with me through some of the more difficult years of my study, and I just have fond memories of that. And I'll actually show you one of the books that I had in college. That is why I love my Penguin classics. We're gonna go through books. So I guess we're starting, it's in no particular order except for the way that it's presented. We're starting with the black spine, white band with the orange, the author's name in orange and the title in white on the spine. Typically there is a piece of art that is connected to, and it'll even tell you the art piece within the notes. A piece of art on the cover that is connected with the book in some way, and yeah. Okay, so this is Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. I have not read this. The Jungle Books, plural. I have not read this. Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations. This is political economy. I've meant to read this. Steve Donahue's totally sold me on Adam Smith, and I've meant to read this, but I haven't. I found this at a Goodwill, and this is Claude Levi-Strauss's Tristan Tropiques. I know that, oh yeah, Susan Sontag is blurbed on the back. I get a lot of these used. I don't buy, oh, the price point of Penguin Classics are typically pretty good. I found this one at my used bookstore, so I think I paid less than $2 for it, and I picked it up because Susan Sontag was blurbed on the back, and I really admire Susan Sontag and her writing. I've not read much from her, but I do admire the pieces that I have read from her. This is what the book is about. So this watershed work records Claude Levi-Strauss's search for a human society reduced to its basic expression. So what this book is that he's recounting his time in the midst of Tristan Tropique's places, like their culture, the practices, the people, and how he places that in the global context. And this book is marks the importance of anthropology and continental philosophy. Says the author has a sense of humor. Oh, it starts like this. I'm immediately interested. I hate traveling and explorers. What a great first sentence. Yet I'm here proposing to tell the story of my expeditions. All right, I'm gripped by this. But yeah, interestingly, I don't know why, but this Penguin Classic is ever so taller. This Claude Levi-Strauss is ever just a teeny bit taller than a regular Penguin Classic. I am not sure why that is. Wallace Stegner's Angle of Repose. I read the first 50 pages of this and it was beautiful. And then I found out that there is some controversy about this particular book and Stegner's writing, and it put me off to the book. I will probably return to it. I believe it's a Pulitzer Prize winning novel, and it's set in the Grass Valley and the Sierra Nevada. And I think that I sort of, now that the, what is it? Now that a layer shells, now that what is it called? Something has fallen from my eyes. Now that the stuff, I can't remember, it sounded just so ineloquent. Now that this stuff has fallen from my eyes, now that I'm seeing clearly, I think that's what I'm really getting at. Now that I'm seeing clearly what this book is and the controversy that does surround Stegner, I think I can go in with a little bit more understanding, but it caught me out. Like, I was reading this and then the controversy came out, or like I had found out about the controversy. I think it has long existed about this book and Stegner's writing, and that he may have lifted, quite literally, like taken some work and really not some pieces of writing and not reworked it and made it and put it into the book as his own. It was just kind of like, it was along those lines. I'm not really recounting the controversy very eloquently, but at the time when I found out about the controversy, it was right as I was reading this book, and I was just, it really put me off to it. But I didn't get rid of it, and I do want to go back to it. I'm like 90% sure. Yeah, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, yes. And so there is, and it's at Grass Valley, California. I have visited. I'm a Californian, born and raised, and I like books set in California. And so I think that this book will have value. Just at the time, it kind of threw me off, and now I want to, I do want to go back to it and read it. That's this book. I guess I have a lot of history with these books, or at least I have some, and so that's the history with Mr. Stegner's Angle of Repose. This is Ted's book, my husband. William James's The Variety of Religious Experiences. Very much a Ted book. One of 2 copies of Thomas Hardy's Tess of D'Umbervilles. Have I read any Thomas Hardy? No, I have not, and I really need to rectify that sooner rather than later. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. This is Faust Part 2. I do have Faust Part 1 somewhere. Have not read very much Dickens. Should probably change that soon. Charles Darwin's seminal and earth-shattering work, The Origin of Species. Another Steve Donahue recommended text, and isn't that cover just phenomenal? Isn't that just gorgeous? That's beautiful. I am certain I found this at a used bookstore. This is Mikhail Bulgakov. We're going with that. The Master and Margarita. I heard it's a weird, strange, twisting, and unusual tale. Sometimes experimental and or postmodern works really kind of throw me off, and I'm not always super excited to pick them up. I think I might quite like this. Anyways, The Master and Margarita. John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. Henry Fielding's The History of Tom Jones, a Foundling. I've heard this is so good. This is referenced so often in books, like in other books that I read. I really ought to read this, and it's got a great cover. Anyways, if you've read this, please tell me about it. I definitely saw this at a used bookstore, and the spine is massive. And it is Cervantes's Don Quixote, and I don't know, it was one of those things where it was like calling to me because of its size. I don't know if I actually want to read this. I'm thinking about it. George Eliot's Adam Bede. I love this book, North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. It's so good. It's a great love story. It is for fans of Pride and Prejudice. Edith Wharton, the Queen, the Queen, and this is the custom of the country. The book I read in college, Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This is the actual copy that I read in college. Gosh, there's even like notes and bookmarks, and I love this. I love this so much. It brings back such good memories. It also helps that I had an incredible college professor for that class in which I read Jane Austen. He was amazing. And then this is George Eliot's Silas Marner. That is round 1. Let me go get another stack of books. I'll be back. I'm almost done with all of my black spined white band versions of this. So I also have Sophocles, the 3 Theban plays, Antigone, Oedipus the King, and Oedipus at Colonus. I read all of these this year and have videos about each play. I will leave those linked down below. Another book I read this year was Edith Wharton's Ethan Frome. Bleak and really good, but very bleak and very dark. Terrence, the comedies. I'm always dabbling, sticking my toe into ancient works, and this is one of those books that I've been meaning to get to, but I haven't even cracked it open really. Same thing with this, Herodotus. The histories. Herodotus is as books fall everywhere. Herodotus is The Histories. Another book that I really would love to read. I've heard it's very humorous. It's actually not quite as long as it seems because of all of the notes. I think it's about 600 pages, maybe not even 600. Goethe's first Faustian play, Faust Part 1, and Flaubert's Madame Bovary. I own a bunch of copies of Madame Bovary. I don't know, it's just one of those books that I haven't read, I've wanted to read, and I see like really interesting copies all the time. I see like, it's just been printed so much. And so there's some really like fascinating and beautiful and intricate copies of Madame Bovary. I think I have another one. For example, this is not a Penguin classic, but here's another copy of Madame Bovary. And I just think it's really interesting, a book that is constantly reprinted. I think I have even another copy of Madame Bovary. I don't know why I am sometimes drawn and collect works of fiction that I haven't read. It's like a impulse of mine. I think that concludes all of that version of Penguin Classics. Okay, I'm gonna actually show you, I think, a newer version, and then we'll get to like the brand. I think this is the newest iteration of the Penguin Classics, so I'll show you. So in this version, Middlemarch, I think this is the newer Penguin Classics version. You have the penguin that is just outlined. He's outlined and then doesn't have any orange in it when it comes to the spine. The white band is a little bit thicker. I think my camera's trying to focus on me. The name, George Eliot's name, so the author's name and the title of the book are in white rather than in orange and white. They're also done in both sans serif font. Oh no. The newer version, this version here, my kids are starting to argue. The newer version, this version here, is actually more, it's more universally inclusive because there is no sans serif. It all is done in sans serif font. There is no embellishment on the font here. And you have the most contrast in like the two colors that are the most contrast, which is white on black or black on white, versus orange on black. It has less contrast and is harder to read. And serif font, which is what the title is done here in, is harder to read for certain people. And so this is more universally readable. It is like really reaching out to people who have different requirements and different needs in terms of like what you're reading. So the change is for the better because it is more inclusive. This change right here is more inclusive. Also, I've noticed that they have kept the orange, but oh no, stop focusing on me. The orange is now this bit down here, which is actually quite smart because since it's gonna cause, it's harder to read because orange is a darker color and it's on black, which means that it's harder to read than the white, but it will always say the same thing. There's consistency. And so, so technically, you know, the newer version, somebody came out and said we need to change this. And if we change it, we want it to be more inclusive. And they've created a spine that is more inclusive to people who have different needs when it comes to font and reading and contrast and their eyesight and the way that their eyes track words and read words. So this is a more inclusive and more thought out design, like a better, more universally readable design, the new version of it. So Middlemarch by George Eliot is, you know, the newer version. Having said that, I do quite like the orange on black. I think it's super classy, and the white. Black, white, and orange. I think it's a super classy combination. And I do a little bit wish there was a tiny touch more orange somewhere on the spine. That's just me. It's a personal preference, but it's neat comparing them. Also on the cover, Penguin Classics across this band here is in orange. Right here, this is in orange, and it's just very subtle. It's very subdued. The orange has sort of gone down a peg. It's very subdued, whereas before, Penguin Classics was in black. So like with this version, Penguin Classics is what is written in black across the white band. The author's name is in orange, and then of course you have the serif font with the title. And again, it's going to be harder for the vast majority if you want to help, you know, if you want to be inclusive to everybody. This book, the way that it's formatted, the title, and the way that it looks and the choices that they made is going to be less inclusive than their newer version. So for that, it is, like, I like this more. However, I'm just a sucker, like, I take change hard, and even though I've just named all the reasons why the George Eliot version of the Penguin Classics is better for everybody, you know, there is something nostalgic about all of the other books that I've just showed you, which is in this older format. I'm sure I'll get used to the new format, and I'm sure I will come to love it as much as I love the older format. I'm just not somebody who likes change. I gotta go deal with my kids, and I'll be right back. Okay, I found actually a couple more of the older versions on my shelves. I have Daphnis and is that right? Daphnis and Chloe by Longus. This is an ancient work. I really enjoyed it. I read it a couple years back. And Plato's The Republic. My battery pack needed to be changed, and we're probably at a slightly different angle. So I think I was about to start talking about, I have a version of Penguin Classics that are like this. I believe that this is the older version of Penguin Classics. They have colors that indicate the type of work that it is. And I think I'm 99% sure that Jack the Rambling Raconteur did a video talking about the colors. I'm not gonna guess, and but I know that the different colors indicate the different genres. And there's, I think, 5 or 6 different colors. Anyway, so this is the older version, as I mentioned, of Penguin Classics. You can get them, so they're just everywhere. And so here is what I have of the ones that have a color at the top. So I have Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching. Yeah, these are thoughts on Taoism. Here. The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. Micromegas and Other Stories by Voltaire. The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, which I love this cover, by the way. I started reading this version and then set it aside for something else, and I was really enjoying it. But yeah, I just really I like this painting on the cover. There's a lovely description of the main character at the very beginning, and it basically describes what this painter painted. Like, the painter obviously read the description and then painted the closest version that he conjured up in his mind of the main character and the baby that she's holding. And I really liked it. Hester, that's right. I was like trying to think of her name, Hester. And so I thought I had very middling feelings about this cover and this version of The Scarlet Letter until I read the beginning of the book, and I thought it was brilliant. I have Confessions by St. Augustine. Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell, a very polarizing book because Gaskell, this is an unfinished work by Gaskell. She died, I think, quite suddenly at as she was writing it. It's a chunkster, and so the story just ends without any kind of wrap up. It just sort of, it ends. And I'm sure because it's a classic Victorian novel that it was published, it was serialized. So as it's going through weekly, but episodically, it really probably did just stop in the middle of the drama, the scenes, and was not wrapped up in any sort of way because of Gaskell's sudden death. The Narrative Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. I believe I've read this, so if I do read it, it would be a reread. I'm like 90% sure I've read this. I'm just getting more and more disheveled as this video goes on. It's fine. It's just, I can feel it. I can feel my own disheveledness. Okay, because I'm just like picking up and like putting down and grabbing a lot of books and settling arguments between my children. If you're not new here, then like that this is just par for the course. So I have a bunch of I have a handful of Penguin Deluxe versions. This is a box set. This is my husband Ted's. I read this is Robert Fagel's translation of the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid. Fagel's, I read, I would say, almost half of the Iliad by Fagel's, and I liked it, but then I switched to the Robert Fitzgerald version, and I started over with the Robert Fitzgerald version, and I just liked his prose work. I liked his prose work better, or poetry. I just enjoyed his work more, is what I'm trying to say. But we have this gorgeous box set. This was something that Ted, my husband, had bought for himself. The deluxe versions, I have this one of Moby Dick. I've started Moby Dick, but I haven't finished it. But the deluxe version has these beautiful French flaps. They typically have, what are these called? Deckled edges. Don't really love a deckled edge, which is probably why I don't go gaga over seeing the deluxe version, but it is it's a more sturdy cover material for sure. The art is a little bit different. It has this matted cover, and I think in terms of a book, it is a gorgeous book to own and to love on. So I'm not against them. I just have far fewer of them than like the Penguin Classics with the black spine and white band. And then continuing on with deluxe versions of books, I have East of Eden, which I bought at a used bookstore, and I thought it was just too gorgeous to pass up. And I also have, I have a lot of deluxe versions of Steinbeck, you know, it's kind of surprising. King Arthur and his Noble Knights. I think Harry got to this at some point. He chewed this. And I read the first couple of stories, but it really wasn't to my liking, and I ended up setting it aside after a couple of stories. I have two of Penguin's 20th century classics, which are done in this teal aquamarine blue. Yeah, the spines are done in this like aqua color or teal, very, very, very light teal. Very pretty. Two books that, well, one is not mine. This is Ted's version of Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow. And this is my version, but I've never cracked it open. D.H. Lawrence's Sons and Lovers. And then I don't know if this is just an older version of the 20th century classics. I'm not sure, but this is a discarded library copy of a portrait of an artist as a young man by James Joyce, and it has charming little things like the due date stamped on the back and the spine that has, you know, indicating that it's where to shelve the books, which I quite like. I just like that kind of stuff. I'm a bit of a nerd. I have one version of when Penguin Classics had this orange spine. Yeah, and this is Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I think I read parts of this very early on in my relationship with Ted, and then I haven't read it since. And I'm sure that this was his before, you know, this was his. It wasn't mine. It wasn't something that we bought while we were together. It was his, and so I picked it up. I really quite like this book. This is William Blake's Penguin Poets, and it has it's just the orange. I don't know, I'm really a sucker for this orange, but it is his poetry, and it has just like the nice worn in spine. It's well loved, well read, and I think it actually has a broken spine. Poor baby. This is The New Penguin. This is Shakespeare, the Sonnets, and A Lover's Complaint. I ought to actually read a couple of these because we are in Shake-Timber right now. Is that right? Shake-Timber, I believe. I have two Penguin Clothbound classics, one of which is The Count of Monte Cristo, and the other which is War and Peace. In terms of these books, I think these are gorgeous. I mean, they're undeniably so. These are gorgeous books. I think they're less practical to read, to be honest with you. I would much rather have the regular Penguin Classics black spine, white band version, or the newer version, like the black and white with the white band. I just think I would like that more, you know, than these to actually physically read. But these are I mean, they're beautiful. They're huge. They sit in a very prominent spot in our home, and I'm really glad to own these, even though I don't find them as practical to read. I just found another 20th century classics, the one with the teal, and it's Elizabeth Bowen's The House in Paris. Honestly, from here, I think it's just gonna be random books that I find. I'm gonna scour these shelves and see any of Penguin books that I've found, but I'll show you what I have in terms of like sort of random imprints. So I have Matthew Shardlake's Disillusion, a Tudor mystery, which I really enjoyed. I just read it back in August, so just finished it a couple weeks ago. There's this penguin, it's Elif Bottomans' The Idiot, and it has, you know, it's like this beautiful millennial pink, and it has the penguin on it. I'm not really exactly sure what imprint it is. It just says Penguin Books. So maybe this is just a Penguin Books, a Penguin published book? Penguin Publishing, the book, their books. What am I trying to say? It's not a Penguin Classic. It's not coming from the Penguin Classics branch of Penguin Books. This is just Penguin Books. And I also think that this is just Penguin books as well, but this is Bunny by Mona Awad. I also have a mystery, so I know that this is probably also Penguin books or maybe Penguin Mysteries. Let me see. Yeah, Penguin books again. So this is Elizabeth George, The Punishment She Deserves. Okay, I'm pretty certain this is it. The last little bit of this tour. It's got a little bit of everything. So we have from Penguin Books, The Likeness by Tana French. I read this, The Ring of Bright Water by Gavin Maxwell. This is under Penguin Nature Classics. Upstream by Mary Oliver. The Rules of Civility by Amor Tolls. The Memoirs of Hadrian by Marguerite Yourcenar. The Salt Path by Raynor Wynn. And then I have a Midsummer's Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. And then I actually found another older Penguin classic. And this is Bram Stoker's Dracula. So that, I think, is that. I think that's it. There, you know what? I'm gonna say that the Penguin books are really easy to spot because it's just got that, it's so iconic. It has that the little emblem of the penguin. I just really enjoy that. But yeah, that is it. I have a huge mess to clean up, but that was really fun. Less daunting than I actually thought, and I sort of whipped through them. As I was trying to do. I think I got excited about halfway through. I was like, this is fun. Well, it's always fun sitting down and chatting with y'all. But I was like, it just kicked into gear, a whole new level. But yeah, tell me, you know, do you have a preference in terms of publisher? I clearly really have a thing for Penguin books. I just do. I think, you know, a runner-up would be vintage books. Not vintage as in older books, but like the imprint vintage. I own a ton of their books as well. But not nearly as many as just the Penguin books that I have. I just have so many more Penguin books than anything else. And then, and I just clearly really like them. I'm just a bit of a sucker for them. It's kind of like the publisher that speaks to me the most. Anyways, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this. Share your thoughts down below. I'd really love to know. And yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye. As I'm cleaning up, I'm finding more Penguin books. So we have The Air Affair by Jasper Fforde. We also have Passing by Nella, as I'm just like, we have Passing by Nella Larson, which I just finished actually, and The Prince by Machiavelli.